Hello everybody and welcome back to another Magic Duels gameplay video. Today we're going to look at probably one of my favorite decks. It's a lot of fun. This is the Turbo Mill deck. Let's go ahead and take a look at the cards that are in it. If you want to skip this part, go ahead and skip to game 1 or skip to the two-headed giant round. That'll be at the end of this video. So originally this deck was made by Legend VD, or Legend as he's known. A very awesome deck that he created. I've made some changes of my own to it, but it's still about the same idea. Milling the opponent to death. Bombardment here is great for controlling the board. This is a blue-red deck and there's a few ways to kind of control the board. Jace is in here. Because of his final ability, which does milling as well. So this deck is all about milling the opponent to death rather than winning with damage. Thing in the Ice is a great one because there are so many spells in this deck that you'll be eventually triggering Thing in the Ice and it can clear the enemy's board. Sadly, we don't have Unsummon in this format, but the best card is Dispersion there. Take Inventory is great too, as we'll be drawing lots of cards. This deck is all about drawing lots of cards, and every time you draw a card, you mill a card from the opponent. Cathartic Reunion is more drawing lots of cards. I'm running a few creatures. A lot of people don't run creatures in this build, but I'm running some creatures. The Drake is good. Oath of Jace, just a one-off, but this is also milling a bunch of cards. The Drake gets pretty big over time. Now this is the payoff card, Sphinx's Tutelage, which whenever you draw a card, the opponent puts the top 2 cards into their graveyard, and if they're, if they share a color, we repeat this process. So that's very interesting. You get to repeat the process, so sometimes you mill for a lot. Fevered Visions is great in this deck as well because it's extra card draw, and it forces the opponent to draw extra cards too, milling them even faster, and doing 2 damage. And of course it's the blue-red color scheme. I have Kozilek's Return in here just as a board wipe. 2 damage to each creature if there's a bunch of small, tokens or something in the way. Now, Fiery Temper is great because you can do 3 damage for 1 mana by discarding this card. And as you've seen, there's a lot of discard in this deck, and it's great to combine it with the Lightning Axe here, which I kind of skipped over, but the Lightning Axe wants you to discard a card, and the card you want to discard, of course, is this one, Fiery Temper, and then just play it for 1. Collective Defiance, there's 1 copy of this, which is great for maybe killing a big creature, but also the effect of getting rid of all the cards and then drawing that many cards. So if you've got a hand of 5 cards that aren't really good, you can discard them all and draw that many and mill that many from your opponent. Pour Over the Pages is another draw 3. Untap 2 lands, so it actually costs only 3 mana, which is nice. Chandra is another Flamecaller is another Planeswalker here in this deck, and she's here for the 0 ability, discarding all the cards and then draw that many plus 1. So all this draw going on is going to be triggering the Tutelage. Now a lot of people don't run this Bedlam Reveler, but this is an excellent creature in the deck. His cost is reduced by all the instants and sorceries in your deck, which is going to be a lot. So you can probably cast this for only 2 red, and he draws 3 cards. So if it's the last card in your hand, you get a draw 3 for free. And also, another interesting thing is the Bedlam Reveler is a horror, which works with the Thing in the Ice here, which is also a creature horror. And when it transforms, all non-horrors, go back to their owner's hands. So the Bedlam Reveler will actually stay on the field, unlike most other creatures which will be swept up by the Thing in the Ice. So the Reveler is actually quite good in the deck, especially as like the final card in your hand. And the mana base, of course, is all the dual lands that we have access to in red and blue, and then some basic red and basic blue. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to jump into game one here. This hand is a little iffy, but I'm going to keep it. Usually you want, of course, 3 lands in your opener, but since I'm on the draw, I have a chance to draw a 3rd land. This deck really needs about 3 lands to operate. And I know I didn't explain, but if you don't know what milling is just taking cards off of the top of your opponent's deck and putting them into the graveyard. And once all the cards are gone, the opponent loses the game, because in Magic, one of the rules is you must draw a card at the beginning of your turn. So if you can't draw a card at the beginning of your turn, you lose the game. So by having all the cards gone in the graveyard, there's no cards to draw, and so the opponent automatically loses the game. So kind of an alternative win condition. This deck is all about winning by milling. And I'll also try to show an example of how you can use this deck to win without milling. So we've got a Stinger coming out here. Kind of an annoying creature if you've got your own creatures on the field. And he's making a bunch of 1/1s, so getting our sweeper would be nice. So we are doing Sphinx's Tutelage here to mill. See, we milled 4 cards right off the bat. So the process was repeated twice. And now we're going to be doubling up on that. And Galvanic Bombardment here does 3 damage now instead of 2, because I had an extra copy of it in the graveyard. So it's another good one to discard so that it gets powered up, and I'm okay taking 2 damage here, no big deal. So he's playing a Bone Picker. That's kind of annoying because it has Death Touch. So we're gonna trigger these for the card we drew here at the beginning. Milling the opponent. I need to hit my land drop, so I'm gonna discard these 2 and draw 3. So each of these triggers 3 times, these Sphinx's Tutelages, and you can watch his cards over there just quickly disappear. He's down to 27 already. So I did hit a land drop. And just to slow him down, I'm going to put this Bone Picker back in his hand. So he'll have to replay it, and we'll take 2 damage. But yeah, next turn I can probably Pore Over the Pages, which is going to draw 3 more, and take out and put the Fevered Visions down, which will also draw at the end of turn. So yeah, we're going to mill him out here, and maybe the next turn is going to be the end. We'll see here. Yeah, this can be incredibly fast, this milling process. So sadly I didn't draw blue mana there, but we'll draw a card at the end of turn here. Trigger these again. Yeah, I need 1 more blue source and then he's finished, because Pore Over the Pages is pretty much guaranteed to do a lot of milling. So you have to be prepared to take some damage in this deck, since there's only a couple creatures. But the Thing in the Ice, if you can get it out there, is a great blocker, being a 2 mana 0/4, and then of course it transforms. There's the blue I need. Ask and you shall receive. So let's Pore Over the Pages here. Draw 3, and we get to untap 2. Make sure I untap my 2 blue sources here. Gotta be careful with the way you untap. And then we'll discard this, as I mentioned, and we'll mill 9. Have these trigger 9 times. And I could play this from the graveyard, just to spite the opponent here. But yeah, the game is over, because he has no cards that he can draw anymore, even though he has 18 life. So we'll pass the turn, and it ends. Oh yeah, I get to draw another card here and mill him again, even though there's nothing left to mill. And he immediately loses the game. So pretty fun to defeat the opponent by milling them out instead of damage. Alright, let's try another round here. I'm hoping I can get a game where maybe we don't draw our milling effects. And I can show you the alternate win condition, which you can win with damage as well in this deck. Damage and card advantage, because there's so much card draw in this deck that it's just ridiculous. Which is why the mana is a little less than usual, and sometimes you'll have this risky opener like I took, with the 2 lands. It could be a little dangerous because, yeah, we're flooding out here, but I mean, around 3 or 4, you're usually good to go. I kept this hand just because of Fevered Visions and a couple burn spells, but yeah, well, at least the opponent's not doing much. Probably don't need 2 copies to pour over the pages. But yeah, once again, if you don't have your milling effects in your opener, with all the extra card draw, probably won't be casting the Reveler here. With the extra card draw, we'll pretty much be able to find those pieces. But sometimes even those you can't find, and so we'll see if we can win by damage also. If necessary, it's kind of an alternate win condition. You can still win by damage, but the point is just to mill the opponent out, which is the fun of this deck. Even though I have less cards than he does right now. So he's not playing anything, so I'm guessing this might be like a zombie hybrid deck or something. Maybe he's got a bunch of counter spells. I know there's a couple of decks that are just a bunch of counter spells, so I'll just keep drawing cards here. Hopefully I can get my lands. That's what's nice about this. Usually you can draw your missing lands and just kind of control the board. Let's put this back in his hand. Waste his turn. Yeah, sadly, don't have Unsummon. It would be great to have Unsummon in this format. Still not drawing my lands, but we'll get the Drake out here. And you notice the Drake is already fairly large. There's the land. And Fevered Visions is also damaging the opponent. I haven't even attacked yet, and he's down to 16. So he's going to replay that flyer. And he's going to take some more damage. But actually, a Fevered Visions can also end the game for you. So I've got 1 copy of Galvanic Bombardment, so this will do 3 instead of 2. You always got to check your graveyard to make sure you have an extra copy of something. I also have the nice combo here in my hand of the Lightning Axe and the Fiery Temper that I can discard to it. So you can play both of those if you have 2 red mana untapped. Oh, and there's my board wipe. Not that I need it. But yeah, I haven't actually drawn any of the milling cards yet, the Sphinx's Tutelage, so this game might actually be one that I can show off winning by damage, which is another pretty easy way to win in this mill deck. Okay, there's my other Reveler, which is always fun. So we'll go ahead and do this just to show how it works. You can usually kill 2 creatures with it, but we'll discard this and cast it and do 3 to his face with Fiery Temper, and then the Lightning Axe does 5 damage to his creature. Oh, he's gonna make it indestructible. Nice play. Did not expect that one. I guess he bought himself another turn. As you can see, this Drake gets really big really fast too. So he bought himself an extra turn. Let's see what's going to happen this turn. Another zombie. That's kind of annoying, but probably fine to discard some stuff now. And another flyer, so yeah, it's kind of... I planned on finishing him off with the Drake, of course. I want to go ahead and keep Chandra because I can pretty much cast her, so... And I'm okay to take some damage. We were at max life, so go ahead and let that through. So I just want to show off Chandra a bit here. Her plus can make some nice 3/1 creatures that can put a lot of pressure on the opponent. So he's forced to pretty much chump everything there. But Chandra can also be a great board wipe, and also discard all of the cards in your hand and draw that many. And so then you can mill for 8, 10, something ridiculous. But yeah, he's down to 3 life. The Fevered Visions has been doing a lot of damage to him. And yeah, we could end this in a number of ways. Let me see if I can draw into my... See, I haven't even drawn into the milling card yet, but I can just keep discarding this Fiery Temper, and for 1 mana do 3 damage. Talk about great value. And then of course this Bombardment's been getting a lot, but yeah, the game is pretty much over here. Draw some more. Yeah, see, I didn't draw a single copy of Sphinx's Tutelage this game, but I just wanted to show that even though this is a mill deck, you can easily win by damage as well. So it's got different ways that it can win. So very powerful. Okay, let's try one more round. We'll show the deck off one more time here, and then we'll do a 2-headed giant round. I usually don't like having 4 lands on my opener, but we do have Thing in the Ice and Sphinx's Tutelage, so I'm going to go with this. Once again, another thing that's nice about this deck is the opener doesn't necessarily have to be all that great. Because of all the card draw that you get, you'll be drawing the cards that you need eventually, and or pretty quickly. So let's get Thing in the Ice out here. Hopefully I can show it off, but Thing in the Ice is always an incredibly powerful card. A 2 mana 7/8 Kraken, which wipes the board for you. So can be one-sided, pretty much a one-sided board clear in this build. And once again, a lot of the people that build this Turbo Mill deck, they do it without any creatures, but like I showed you in my build list, I like these creatures that I've set up. I don't have very many. There's only like maybe 5 creatures total in the deck, but they really help enhance it and give you an alternative win condition. So I think I'll just use my mana here and go face. Sadly, this costs 3, but I have an extra one in my hand. Can't really do much to his 5/5 flyer because it's a god, indestructible god, and yeah, it can be hard to deal with some of the gods since they're indestructible. That's why I've got some of the bounce spells in the deck to kind of put them back in hand, slow the opponent down. And of course, so I drew one. Thing in the Ice is also the same effect. It'll put everything back into the opponent's hand. So I'll go ahead and slow him down here. He'll probably replay it, but that's okay. Now a copy of Fevered Visions off the top would be great, since that'll speed up the milling even quicker. So just using my mana up here. And this might actually be a game where I... There we go. Ask and you shall receive. So if I play this spell, it's pretty much going to trigger Thing in the Ice, because the last freeze token is gone, so it's going to flip, and all of his creatures disappear, and then the spell will just fizzle and go to the graveyard, but that's okay. So yeah, if the opponent has a lot of creatures, you know, a great way to win is just with this Thing in the Ice. And now we're on the mill plan again, or the damage plan, so we've got our choice here. We can kill him by damage or kill him by milling. But yeah, I can't really get through this indestructible god very well. And there's another Thing in the Ice. Well, we're gonna have to play Pour Over the Pages first, because I won't have enough mana. And then we can untap 2 here and discard a land. Do that and mill for 6, 9, hopefully more. Since sometimes the process is repeated, so I don't know for sure exactly how many it's gonna mill, but sometimes it mills 2, 4, 6, you never know. But that's what's really cool about Sphinx's tutelage, is that the process is re-triggered depending on what you mill off the top. So yeah, he must have some other creatures, or else he wouldn't be attacking, because he's dead on board if he doesn't play any creatures. Another god, well, that's a problem. Can't really attack into that. Once again, I think human players too, this is a big mistake, being aggressive, because if I had a bounce spell in my hand, I could just bounce those gods and attack for lethal. So it's kind of dangerous to be that aggressive. You know, when you play Magic, people are just too aggressive in their attacks. I've often said most games I've seen where people lose, it's because they're just too aggressive. They don't keep enough blockers back. And if you have good blocks on the opponent, there's no reason to attack. So I'm just doing this to trigger my Thing in the Ice. And once again, if this Thing in the Ice triggers, all of my creatures are going to stay on the board because they're all horrors. No point attacking because that thing has Death Touch. Oh man, so yeah, he's pretty much toasted here if I don't mill him to death this turn. Not quite, he gets one more chance. Well yeah, this is his last turn pretty much. I've got ways that I can win by damage and ways I can win by milling. And Nissa Planeswalker is not going to help him. And I could choose to do damage to his face or the Planeswalker. But yeah, it's over. He drew his last card. So Fevered Visions, forces you to draw extra cards, and so in a way it's milling him even faster. So I can just play this other one out. Sadly didn't get to transform the other thing in the ice, but that would have been fun, showing you that all these horrors will stay on the field, whereas all his creatures will go away. So let's draw 2. Mill for more, even though there's nothing left to mill. Just get to watch the fun animations. Can even cast this for fun. Don't know why. A lot of instants in this deck that are great. As you can see, that Bedlam Reveler gets really big too, so it's a great attacker. And pass the turn. And it's over. So we could have won that one in a number of ways, but yeah, that was a fun one. Alright, so let's go on and check out a two-headed giant game using this deck. So this is a really fun deck to play a two-headed giant, Turbo Mill. Your ally can kind of help fend off the opponent's attacks, while you just mill one of the opponents to death. Bleh. To deck. You deck them to death. Having trouble speaking today. But yeah, I'm here with my good partner, Wild Boar. And I'm not sure what Wild Boar is going to pick as his deck. It looks like he's doing the zombie deck. Another deck which I'll show off in the future, which is a lot of fun. The black-white zombie deck. But I got a pretty good hand here. Play the tap lands first, the dual tap land, but I've got Sphinx's Tutelage in my opener, so that's pretty good. Although this is a little iffy because we only have one blue source. Once again, there isn't much mana fixing in Duels, sadly. So it makes that a little, makes some things a little iffy. But my ally is going to play some Rancid Rats. A 1/1 Death Touch Zombie Rat. Always something fun to have around the house. His deck is all about the zombie synergies. There's a lot of life gain and life drain, as well as the usual zombie synergies with Liliana. So I'm okay discarding some of these kill cards, like Galvanic Bombardment here, because it just gets better if you put extra copies in the graveyard. As I've shown, the more that are in the graveyard, the more powerful it becomes. So this deck is nice in that you've got plenty of cards that you don't really mind discarding because they'll give you advantages in the graveyard. But I'm going to go ahead and get the milling going by playing out Sphinx's Tutelage, and Wild Boar is playing out the 2/2 Vampire, which drains for 1 and we gain 1 life each turn. Yeah, it's not a zombie, but it still works pretty good in the Vampire deck because it just has the right colors for it. And it's a good life gain, a life drain creature. But yeah, the opponent's making us discard a lot here. Pretty tough choice for Wild Boar because he's got a really good hand. Got some good creatures. So this is a pretty hard choice to make. It looks like he discarded the land. Yeah, that Miasmic Mummy can be kind of annoying. Forcing you to discard, especially when you've got a really good hand. But once again, playing the mill deck, I find it's not too big of a deal because, once we get all the card draw going and all that sort of thing, we're just off to the races. But in Two-Headed Giant, you definitely have to hold the enemy off. It's a little more difficult to hold the enemy off because of all the extra creatures. So you'll definitely be relying on your partner to help out. You can even do double milling, which I've done with Wild Boar, using the mill deck for both human players, and that's a lot of fun too. You can mill the opponent out really fast that way by just doubling up on the mill deck. And it works pretty good because there's a lot of burn and a lot of ways to control the board. So with both players drawing lots of burn spells, you can really keep control of the board. Oh, it's gonna kill the flyer that was gaining us life. That's unfortunate. But at least he doesn't have any good attacks. Need one more blue. Yeah, once again I'm kind of stuck here. I'm lacking blue mana. So these are instants, so I'm just gonna hold on to these instant cards for now. If I could draw a blue, I'm gonna be in good shape, because then I can do Pour Over the Pages and untap a couple lands, draw 3, mill 6. And my buddy's got the board kind of stalled, which is where you want to be. Just blocking the opponent. Oh man, how many of those miasmic mummies does he have? Sadly, I don't have the fire spell in my hand that you could discard and play the madness cost of 1. Because that's a great one to have in your hand. You can just discard it. Well, Thing in the Ice is an excellent draw. I still need another blue source. But for now, we're just kind of holding off the our opponents, and we're gonna mill them to death. So it's great when you play Two-Headed Giant with this. It gives you the extra win condition. You know, once again, if you're struggling to get damage through, if you don't have life drain or life gain, you can just mill the opponent to death and win that way instead. So it makes this deck a lot of fun in a Two-Headed Giant. So it doesn't look like we have any really good attacks. We're just going to kind of hold off here. And the opponent doesn't really have any good attacks either, although that 4/3, at least he discarded another copy, can be kind of annoying. And of course I drew a red one. But my buddy drew Liliana, which is a great planeswalker, Liliana the Last Hope. Especially if you can get the emblem out, but in Two-Headed Giant it's pretty difficult to get the emblem out. So he's shrinking down the 4/3, making the board a little more manageable. And I'm going to hold on to this Disperse in my hand, see what the opponent does. But yeah, the 0/4 Thing in the Ice is also holding off the opponent's attacks, so we'll see what he does this turn. And I'm slowly milling one on my side here, but he's getting quite a few creatures. Which could be a problem if we start to get outnumbered. Although if I can trigger a Thing in the Ice to flip, everything will go back to hand, and so that's pretty much, you know, in a way it's kind of a board wipe. A free board wipe, but yeah, I'm not getting my blue mana that I need. But if I can get that one blue mana, I should be good to go, because I'll be drawing a lot of cards. So yeah, our opponents aren't doing too much. They don't have really any, you know, real good attacks. There we go. So let's mill. Let's finally get this blue source down. And we can finally Pour Over the Pages, triggering Thing in the Ice, drawing 3. We'll untap 2 lands. You can also untap your allies' lands, by the way, in Two-Headed Giant with Pour Over the Pages. And we're going to mill for a bunch, which is a really cool strategy. You know, if your ally needs some mana, you can actually untap his lands. You know, if he's been kind of mana screwed, or he has an instant in his hand and you want your ally to be able to play it in Two-Headed Giant, you can actually use Pore Over the Pages to untap your ally's lands instead of your own. So that it's a really cool trick that's only in Two-Headed Giant, and something most people don't notice when they're playing the game single player. But yeah, so now I'm pretty much good with mana. Uh-oh. He's going to try to kill Liliana. My Wild Boar's copy of Liliana, so I'm going to save her by bouncing it back to his hand. Not the best solution, but the best way to save her that we've got. So that was a kill card that can kill a single creature or planeswalker. So kind of annoying, but at least I had a way to bounce Liliana so that we could save her, because she's all around a pretty good planeswalker, the Liliana the Last Hope. And that's why the unsummon spells are in the deck. Can be very useful, helping your ally out as well as yourself. And I'm going to do Cathartic Reunion here. Careful with Cathartic Reunion, you have to make sure you have 3 cards in your hand, 2 to discard, or else you can't actually cast Cathartic Reunion. But we'll draw 3 when it resolves, and mill for 6 or more. Keep getting my dual lands out there. Let's see what Wild Boar is going to do. So he's going to replay Liliana, it looks like. Shrink down his menace creature. That's a good idea. We do have quite a few enemy threats here on board. But once again, you know, we're probably going to win this one by milling. No attacks from us. I can't attack with Thing in the Ice since it's a defender, and my buddy doesn't really have any good attacks. Wants to keep his creatures back to protect Liliana. So hopefully he doesn't have another kill card to take out Liliana. But yeah, oftentimes in Two-Headed Giant you can kind of struggle to keep a planeswalker on the field. Well, he created a zombie and exiled one of his... The opponent made a zombie and exiled one of his own allies' cards for some reason. So I'm sure that those two opponents are fighting now. Now it looks like he's going for Liliana. That's not going to work. I'm going to flip Thing in the Ice, and goodbye! So that was fun. So there's a good example of Thing in the Ice being a board clear. Sadly, my ally here, Wild Boar, got all his zombies put back into his hand. But, you know, at least I eliminated all the threats that were on the board, and Liliana remains on the field. There we go. There's another of our wonderful milling cards, Sphinx's Tutelage. So we got this, and with a nasty 7/8 Kraken, the opponent's going to be pretty much in chump mode for a while here, although he doesn't really have to chump it now because he does have quite a bit of life. So my buddy is triggering Liliana again. Let's see what zombies he's going to replay. He's going to have to sadly replay all his zombies. So one thing nice about the mill deck, as I mentioned, you know, there's a lot of horrors in it, horror creatures, and so they actually stay on the field when this Thing in the Ice transforms. But all the zombies went back. So yeah, our opponent's just going to take it, obviously, because he's fine taking 7. But yeah, I don't think he's going to get out of this one. He's got 14 cards left. And by the way, in Two-Headed Giant, if you mill out one of the two opponents, you win. So you don't have to mill both of them out. And that's important to realize. That's why I've been focusing on this one, on my side. The one that has the two creatures here. He's down to 14 cards. And even though his ally, the other opponent, has got plenty in his deck, 43, you just have to mill one of them out to win the game. And then both opponents will lose. So keep that in mind as well when you play this in Two-Headed Giant. Oh, another one of those, huh? Those 4/3s can be pretty nasty at the beginning of a game, since they only cost 2 mana, but since it's later in the game here, we've got some really good blocks. And sadly, I drew Cathartic Reunion, which is useless in hand without extra cards to draw, or to discard, I mean. You have to discard 2, and since I don't have 2, so I'm going to go ahead and trigger Sphinx's Tutelage here, and just get rid of Cathartic Reunion probably, since I won't be casting it for a while. And we'll mill for some more. Yeah, not much left. We pretty much just need to hold him off for one more round here. And Wild Boar's zombies are getting pretty big and nasty. The zombie deck is a lot of fun. I'll have to show that off in a later video. The black-white zombie deck. But my partner's choosing where to put the -1/-1 counters. Sometimes a tough choice. Usually you want to put it on a token, a zombie token, but he doesn't have one. That way your menace creature is nice and big. And yeah, his Liliana was getting up there. Probably could have had an emblem by now if we didn't have to, bounce it that last turn that the opponent tried to kill it. I'm fine trading off Thing in the Ice now here if the opponent wants to double block. Yeah, I figured he'd do that, but we're just going to go ahead and keep the enemy count down. And this is probably the opponent's last turn, so we'll see what he can come up with. I don't think he can do 25 damage in this single turn. So he's just going to embalm a creature from the graveyard, which is actually a pretty good move. That trample creature is nasty. And another one of those, man, yeah, those 4/3s adding up. Plague Belcher is a 7/6 though, so we still have pretty good blocks. And yeah, this is his last chance, his last attack. Unless he can destroy my Sphinx's Tutelage cards. So he didn't attack. Does he have anything second main? Opponent's thinking, and they quit. Alright, so I drew my board wipe. Although with these big creatures it's not going to do much. And that's it. He's got 0 cards left. The game is over. Sadly, Wild Boar didn't get to get Liliana to max loyalty, although she is now, but we don't have another turn. And Never is that kill card the opponent used a while back. yeah, not much else. Guess we can just attack for fun, because the game is over. So we'll see if Wild Boar decides to attack here, since we've already won. Go for it, man. Just do a full... There we go. I guess yeah, keep the weak one back. Oh, and then he's going to give all of the zombies Menace, which is another cool thing you can do in the zombie deck, making it really hard to block everything. Because you have to double... He has to double block everything. And yeah, we're just going to pass the turn. Oh, our opponent's going to attempt something here. It's going to cycle a card, but it's not going to save him. And we won by milling. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed this gameplay video. The Turbo Mill deck is a lot of fun. I recommend trying it out. And it is a lot of fun in Two-Headed Giant as well. And playing it as a duplicate is also fun. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Check out my main channel at East Guru Japan Gaming for a lot more content. And we'll see you all in the next Magic the Gathering gameplay. じゃあ皆さん、またね。